Welcome everybody to another set championships. If you're excited, give it a like. It's Emerald and Ruby. I've been cooking up a deck and I really wanted to see what I could do. Minimal testing before the tournament, but I tested it enough to know that it was decent and I had a really fun time in Nottingham. In today's video, you're going to see the Swiss rounds, and then if I make it through to the top cut, you are going to be seeing another video. So it's 6 rounds of Swiss. My first opponent here is playing a very spicy Amethyst and Amber Madrigal aggro deck. It's Morgan, and very fortunately for me, I won the die roll because their deck is so aggressive. Befuddles, Maleficents, they've got all sorts. I go ahead and ink the Hidden Cove, and I open good old-fashioned with a Merfolk. This is Emerald without Bucky, just how it should be, just how I like it. I've never really been interested in the Bucky deck, but you guys know me, I love a little bit of cursed Merfolk action. And of course, at this moment in time, I'm like, okay, I see what's going on here, Morgan. Morgan with that turn 1 Maleficent. So Ruby and Emerald, definitely not a color combo you see every day, but it is one that I believe in. It has the aggressive questing power and the discard power of Emerald mixed in with the control aspects of Ruby. So the deck is predominantly Emerald cards, but I've got a few Ruby cards for control, like Maui, Medusa, Brawl. There's also a few super goofs in the mix as well, but then the rest of the deck is entirely Emerald, really focusing on that classic discard package, things like Prince John, Flynn Rider, Merfolk. I've also got a few new additions in there, including an enchanted card in the deck, which you're going to have to wait and see exactly which card that is, but it was the first card I ever bought, especially for this video. And after the tournament, there's definitely a few changes I would have made to the deck, but we'll talk about that as we go on. And look at this opening from Morgan. Thank goodness I went first. Double Maleficent Befuddle. This is like a Shinmiri line, but even better, like Befuddle, very undervalued card. I think aggro in general is probably the most underrated way to play Lorcana. A lot of the top players will avoid playing aggro decks because you have less agency in the game. Because the games are shorter, you can often just lose to a bad matchup with an aggro deck. A lot of the very best players don't like playing these aggressive decks for that reason. They like to be in control as much as possible. So playing a deck which has longer games, there's more decisions, and there's more opportunities to outplay your opponent. But that means that these aggressive decks get pretty underestimated at just how strong they can be. See the power of the Brawl come through, but Morgan's made a nice start with 2 lore on the board. I don't have anything. My Merfolk got Befuddled back to my hand. I didn't want to quest with my Merfolk because I was waiting maybe for a Prince John to come down or something like that. Alma Madrigal comes through here, which allows Morgan to look at their whole deck. It's like a Yu-Gi-Oh card and reveal a card and put it on top of the deck. So Bruno Madrigal is going to be going on the top of Morgan's deck. And this is the little combo that they're looking to do. They're looking to use Alma Madrigal, things like Boss on a Roll, to put cards on the top, and then Bruno can name that card, gain lore, and draw that card. Really cool deck. So I'm in Nottingham. I also came through with the Robin Hood theme deck. I've got Robin Hood Daydream and my favorite Robin Hood card in this one, the card which quests for 4. I've got Friar Tuck, Prince John. While I'm in Nottingham, it had to be done, but yeah, the Illuminauts, a very good group of Lorcana players. I also want to shout out the store, the Dice Cup, who were very welcoming in having me. We also had Matthew Robert Davies at this event, who is the artist for a lot of very popular Disney Lorcana cards, including Ursula Deceiver of All, Elsa Enchanted from the first set, and many more. So I got my playset of Ursula Deceiver of Alls signed by Matthew Robert Davies at the event, which was really awesome. And in today's video, you're seeing the whole of Swiss, but I'm going to edit some of the games where you're only going to see one of the 3 games, for example, just to try and keep things as fresh as possible. Any of the games which you don't see and you'd like to watch will be available on my Patreon, so you can go check that out. Also, I'm setting up YouTube members, so yeah, any spare content which doesn't get used in this video will be available there if you really want it. I'm also looking to play another spicy deck at a set championships tomorrow, as I quest with my Prince John, which is a little bit controversial, but the reason I go for the full quest here is I'm not really worried about any rush characters coming through from Morgan. And Prince John is questing for 2, so if I can get away with questing with Prince John, it's really important that I maximize such an opportunity. Baloo is down, of course, as a bodyguard. If Baloo's removed from the board, Morgan will gain 2 lore. I go for a Brawl, but onto Alma Madrigal. This is just helping protect my Prince John even more. As of course that Alma Madrigal does have 1 strength. It wasn't able to remove my Prince John, but yeah, it just seemed like the better target as she quests for 2 and has 1 strength. Blue has no strength. It seemed like the better brawl option. And here's where I like to be. I like to have my Prince John down on the board with my merfolks. This is what you're used to seeing from an Emerald deck from myself. So Blue's going to sing Boss on a Roll. This gains Morgan 1 lore, and they can look at the top 5 cards of the deck and place them in any order. And this can be particularly powerful with Bruno Madrigal, of course, because Bruno Madrigal is able to name a card, draw that card if you get it right, and gain lore. So Boss on a Roll being sung by Baloo. Really, really, really cool deck indeed. Certainly a deck I'm interested in trying. There's a lot more Madrigal characters as well coming out in set 5. Not sure if this deck got better particularly, but Bruno Madrigal as a card certainly did, because there's a lot of, like, there's this new item in Sapphire, which each player plays with the top card of the deck revealed. Lilo, the card off the top that's played. I think there was an uninkable problem. I think Bruno Madrigal got inked here. If this Lilo was an inkable card, I think Bruno Madrigal would have come down this turn, which would have applied a lot of extra pressure, that's for sure. So my deck does get up to 6 ink with Madame Medusa, 3 copies of that. I think there is an argument to drop it down to 2. On the train on the way up, it was like a 3-hour journey. I was playing around with the deck still. Friar Tuck is going to get out of my church, but joke's on me. Madame Medusa gets discarded. At this moment in time, I just feel like I have to develop. And I have a handful of 2 Friar Tucks and an uninkable. So the Medusa gets discarded by myself. Friar Tuck not really doing what we want them to be doing. But in a similar vein, I decide to quest with my Prince John. There was, of course, an option of challenging the Baloo with both Prince John and Ursula. But it felt like I'm in a better position here. Because I went first, I'm in the ascendancy. I might still just about be able to get away with this questing. Bruno Madrigal, the card off the top, which Morgan knew because of Boss on a Roll, put it there. And they also know the next 4 cards off the top of the deck as well, as long as their memory's good. My memory's not that good. I think I might struggle with that. Lilo's going to challenge the Merfolk. Nothing to discard, which means my Prince John, of course, is not going to draw, but the Baloo does quest for 1. So I'm going to ready, set, and draw. I think it's a Friar Tuck in hand. And is that another Friar Tuck I draw? It's the Friar Tuck show, but it's not really the right spot for it, with Morgan having no cards in hand. The good news for me is I'm not that far away. I'm 9 lore away. If I quest with the board, I'm at 16. Friar Tuck is going to be a nice threat on the board. That is what I decided to do. I was considering challenging Baloo. Like I could challenge Baloo here and then remove the Lilo with the Ursula, for example. But instead, I ink a Friar Tuck. I play a Friar Tuck. And I'm now in a position where my board is questing for 7. So Morgan needs to take trades. They draw a card. They know what it is. They know what the card on top of the deck is as well, of course, from that Boss on a Roll. Bruno can name a character, draw, or name a card, draw that card. And, yeah, 14 away. I'm just 4 away. Of course, I'm in top deck mode. But if I top deck a 6-drop here, for example, I could be in a really bad spot. Even if it's a Robin Hood, which is inkable, I wouldn't be able to play at that turn. If it's Madame Medusa, I'm completely toast. I think Morgan doesn't feel too confident here. Names the card off the top. It's Friends. And they got it right. So they gain lore as well. 3 lore and card draw of Friends. Sing Friends with Baloo. What a deck by Morgan. Let's be honest. If I lost this die roll, I was in serious danger here. I really, really was. Now, Piglet, Poor Unfortunate Souls is the options as well as one other card. Poor Unfortunate Souls can bounce back a card to a player's hand with 1 or 2 cost, I believe it is, or less. Maybe even 3, but I think it's 1 or 2. And it is the Ursula which is decided on. Even if it was 3 cost, the Prince John, of course, has Ward. So that wouldn't be an option. So the Poor Unfortunate Souls bounces back the Ursula, but the Friar Tuck, the Prince John, the Friar Tuck remain on the board. I can draw Quest out. It was a Medusa off the top as well, but yeah. I had an Ursula Deceiver in hand, I think, because of the Poor Unfortunate Souls bouncing it back. So I could have inked the Ursula, paid the Medusa. I would have been all right. Okay, game number 2. This was a really exciting series. I wanted to show you the full series of this one. But some of the games moving forward, you're just going to see one of the games, and then the other will be available on Patreon. So pretty aggressive mulligan from Morgan. For myself, I'm going into this just knowing that I'm up against hyper aggro. I need an early curve. As much as the Merfolk looks like a good keep, it's probably not, right? It's got 0 strength. It's not helping me control the board in any way, shape, or form. Getting rid of the Maui, the Medusa, and the Bruno is a little bit controversial potentially, but ultimately, the most important thing is that I have cards which can control the board in the early game. So the Merfolk gets gone as well, which I think is reasonable. And I end up with a hand looking like this. You can see a Jasmine in there. You can see a Super Goof. Super Goof definitely could put in some work in this particular matchup. And the Robin Hood Daydreamer is a card I just love so much. When I was building this deck, I was so excited. The classic kind of Emerald curve from set 3 gameplay before Bucky is Merfolk, Flynn, Prince John, Friar Tuck, and then what do you want on 5? A big Maui to control the board. And then if you can get to 6, if your Prince John's been drawing your cards, a Robin Hood after that is stats on the board that can't be removed by Medusa. 4 lore in a single turn is absolutely devastating, and it's very, very difficult to deny it. Ursula Deceiver comes through, and I'm able to discard the friends on the other side, as well as see the other cards. Double Lilo down for Morgan. Fortunately, there was no Shin Miri line, which of course is the triple Lilo by turn 2. Friends is going to get inked. Alma Madrigal and Bruno is the hand. 2 Almas, 1 Bruno. So Morgan can search the deck for a card of their choice, reveal it and put it on top. Well, shuffle the deck and then put it on top. So Bruno's the card revealed. The deck gets shuffled. And then the Bruno ends up on the top of the deck. I know a lot of you are going to be very excited to see the Madrigal aggro. Really, really cool deck from Morgan. Yeah, as I say, like the Illuminauts are a really cool group from Nottingham that play Lorcana. So if you're in the Nottingham area, definitely check them out. They also live streamed the games, some of the other games, which was really awesome. It was a really fun event to get invited to. So super grateful for everyone for having me. I had to come through with Silent Spicy. And yeah, Emerald Ruby, definitely a little bit inconsistent. The Prince John is the only real way of drawing cards. But there's a few other tricks I have up my sleeve, which I wanted to save until you see them to gain some ink in an unorthodox way. What might I be talking about? I ink Ursula Deceiver. I brawl the Alma. And the Ursula Deceiver is a nice card to have played onto. Not only did it discard friends, but it's able to remove a bunch of Lilos. Bruno gets inked. Bruno gets played. And Lilo's going to quest for 2, of course. Alma Madrigal in hand is going to be able to put a card on top next turn, which then Bruno can name, add it to hand, and gain 3 lore. So you can see the synergies coming through. Very, very interesting. The Bruno's quite difficult for me to deal with. I do have quite a few ways in my deck to deal with it. I have We Don't Talk About Bruno on Bruno Madrigal. I have Pegasus, Shift, the 3/3, which can deal with it as well. But none of those options currently available to me as I ink a Maui. And I play a Super Goof. Super Goof with the Rush, can remove Lilo, and whenever it challenges, it gains 2 lore. So I'm now up to 3 lore, but Morgan over on 8 with a Bruno Madrigal on board and an Alma Madrigal in hand is pretty spooky. So Alma is going to, sure enough, search the deck. Is it going to be another Bruno Madrigal? I think it just might be. It certainly is. Deck gets shuffled. Bruno's going to go back on top. And then this Bruno Madrigal that's already on the board can name Bruno Madrigal as the character. It enters the hand of Morgan. And they're going to gain 3 lore for their troubles. Look at them go. Absolutely incredible card draw and lore. And it's evasive as well. Pretty impressive stuff. It is back on over to me. I need to try and deal with this Bruno Madrigal as soon as possible. I'm at 4 ink. So kind of the time where I'm going to be looking for Maui. What is that card I just drew? Is that the little chicken? Is that the little chicken? That's right. I'm playing the Emerald Hey Hey. Only 2 copies of it. If I was to play again, I would go up to 3 copies of Hey Hey, as I do take a brawl on Alma just to control the board. Hey Hey is an Emerald card which has never really seen play, but it helps me as it goes into the Inkwell. If I'm going second in particular, it just helps me get to that 6 ink mark, in particular when I miss Prince John. So I was on 2 copies. I was on 3 copies when I was on the train ride up, but in my tweaking, it was one of the cards that got cut. On reflection, the Hidden Cove, which I was playing, I would definitely not play again. And I would probably just play like more copies of the Shift Pegasus in Emerald, more copies of the Ruby Pegasus, which is the 2 cost 3/1 evasive. I had 2 copies of that card. I'd probably go up to 3, maybe even 4. As Jasmine comes through, not a card you're going to have seen too often. On deploy, or when I play her, deploy is a bit of a Gwent phrase, but when I play her, my opponent discards a card, and whenever she's challenged. But these Bruno Madrigals, I can't stop. And look what's in Morgan's hand. It's another copy of The Boss is on a Roll. which means that they can put a card of their choice on top of the deck. They gain 1 law for their trouble as well. So up to 13. They look at the top 5 cards, place them in any order that they wish. What a deck. I have to try this. What an absolute deck this is. So they can put them in any order, and then of course they can name with the Bruno the 2 cards on top, gaining 6 law, which means they're going to be at 19, 1 away. Absolutely incredible. And if they're able to put like a card like Boss on a Roll or Goat on top and they have enough ink, then it's just over, right? It's Baloo. Puts them up to 16. They can name again. And they name Maleficent. They're up to 19. Do they have anything to finish me off? They don't, but they have a Maleficent. So I think you see the writing is very much on the wall. The Bruno Madrigal absolutely popping off. So we go to game 3. Thank goodness I won the die roll. But I have to say, when I went first, ignore the 7 law. I'm obviously on 0. I just didn't reset it. When I went first, Morgan got pretty close. When Morgan went first, I didn't get anywhere near them. So I know I'm up against it here. I know I'm definitely in a favourable position with the fact that I'm going first. And what's that card? What's that I see to the left? Oh, it's a Prince John. I thought it was an Enchanted, but we'll save that reveal for now. So main thing I'm looking for here is just a curve. Prince John is great. He is kind of the money card in this deck that you're mulliganing for. A lot of people are going to wonder why I'm not playing Diablo. I did test Diablo a little bit, and I ended up just mulliganing it every single game because I was looking for Prince John, and it just didn't feel like it was worth including. And the other nice thing about removing Diablo is suddenly it's a $100 deck, which is always fun. I do love these budget decks. So I'm keeping 4. I'm basically just keeping the curve. Merfolk for 1, Flynn for 2, Prince John for 3, Friar Tuck for 4. I draw into a Maui, a Pegasus, and I think another Merfolk as well. So the Pegasus shift is extraordinarily good in this deck. Might be surprised to see it and think there's probably better cards. This card proved to be a bit of the star of the show. It was a late edition. It was an edition on the train. And the reason is if you shift in Pegasus, all of your characters gain evasive for the turn until the start of your next turn. Evasive Merfolks, evasive Prince Johns is really strong. The other thing is not only can you have an evasive Prince John, but the turn you shift the Pegasus in, you can also sing We Don't Talk About Bruno, which with the Prince John down on the board gives you card draw as well. So powerful. It's really, really nice. And I have the Ruby Pegasus, the 3-1. I actually had Sir Hiss in the deck initially. A big reason for that card is because otherwise Flynn Rider, just the Ruby Flynn Rider frenemy, gets out of control. It's a real problem for this deck. All of my early game cards are like 1 strength or 0 strength. So the Sir Hiss was there to check the Flynn Rider a little bit. But then I was like, wait, I can play the Shift Pegasus. I was already playing the 1 cost Pegasus in Emerald. So then I added in 2 copies of the Ruby Pegasus. And again, I think I would go up to 3, maybe quite possibly 4 copies next time I was to play this deck. So I've got the Ursula Deceiver down. It's going to be Ursula Vanessa, which is a little bit not really sure about this card. I like Morgan's deck a lot. I don't think I'm sold on the Ursula Vanessa being in the deck, but perhaps there is the Ursula Sea Witch Queen as a shift option. I'm not sure. Can sing Boss on a Roll. I suppose that's the logic of it. As my Prince John enters the board, I do love a bit of Prince John action. Double quest up to 3. And now, of course, every time Morgan discards a card, I'm going to draw a card. Prince John is the card draw tool for this deck. It's really an Emerald deck with just a little bit of a splashing of Ruby control options. So, Boss on a Roll gets inked by Morgan. And Baloo comes through, not as a bodyguard. It is as a bodyguard. Now, the Baloo can definitely cause me some problems. Again, you can see my board here. I have very low strength characters, which is why you can see that Flynn Rider Frenemy can definitely be an issue. So it's very hard to get through this Baloo. The Lilo or the Vanessa can trade into the Merfolk, which gets removed. So Vanessa removes the Merfolk, of course. Morgan has to discard, and it's a Poor Unfortunate Souls. John draws for me. And I hit the We Don't Talk About Bruno. Now, the Friar Tuck is what I'm wanting to play next turn, ideally. But Morgan's done a good job of emptying their hands, possibly anticipating the Friar Tuck being the play I'm looking for. So I'm not even sure that Friar Tuck's doing that much for me here. We saw Friar Tuck already discard one of my cards earlier on. Is it possible I'm going to be forced to do that again here? Definitely an awkward spot for me. Of course, I can't play the Merfolk and the Friar Tuck here because I'm only at 3 ink. So it's a tricky one. I ink the Robin Hood Daydreamer. Baloo with the bodyguard means that it's the only character I can challenge. I can't challenge this Lilo. So I'm starting to get a bit nervous, and I decide I really need stats down. So I'm just going to have to, not for the first time in this series, discard my own card. So the Merfolk gets discarded by Friartuck. Friartuck is having a stinker of a game. If you'd only watched this game, you'd think Friartuck is maybe the worst card in the game. But I think we all, if you've been watching this channel a long time, that Friartuck will pop off eventually. You just got to wait for his moments. Against an aggro deck, which is dumping the hand even quicker than I can, it looks pretty bad. But often this Friartuck on turn 4 is just such a nice play. Force your opponent to discard, you draw. Quest for 2, 2/4 stat line. There's a reason that Friartuck is one of my favourite cards around. I would love, by the way, an Enchanted Friartuck. Enchanted Prince John. Oh my goodness. Imagine we get like some retroactive Enchanted cards. Like set 3 Enchanted card released in set 10. That would be so cool. I reckon that will happen, Merlin Goat gets inked. I can imagine Enchanted Goat. That'll be cool. I wouldn't say no to that. Alma comes through. So Morgan's again going to search the deck. And this is where I really need the control of Ruby, right? I need things like Maui. I need then to be able to sing Bruno. Like being able to sing Bruno with Maui is so powerful. So unsurprisingly, Alma names Bruno as the card to put on top. I don't want to cut the deck. He offered, see if I wanted to cut it, but nah, it's fine. I trust him. And then it's the full quest for 4. So it's 6 apiece. Maui turn. Unfortunately, I inked Maui, and I don't think I found one. But what is that? I just saw an Enchanted enter my hand. So I have to give a big shout out at this moment. I'm going to give a shout out to Lily Rose, who is a young girl who I indirectly, by chance, bought this card from on Card Market. Enchanted Jasmine forces Morgan to discard. Bye-bye Alma Madrigal. No cards left in hand. I get to draw for my Prince John. Jasmine quest for 2, and whenever she's challenged, your opponent must discard a card. So shout out to Lily Rose, who is an 8 or 9-year-old girl that I met at a set championships for the Stitch. She was absolutely popping off with a hyper aggro deck of her own. She got into the top 8, lost the top 8 game. She finished above me because I didn't even make the top cut of that tournament. And yeah, just by coincidence, just by chance, I bought this card off Card Market. Her granddad was selling it for me, and he let me know it actually turned out to be Lily Rose's card, which she packed. And then the money for this Jasmine has gone towards her new Emerald Amethyst deck. Super awesome. I absolutely love to see it. I used to be a primary school teacher before I was making content. And so whenever I'm seeing the little ones play Lorcana and do really well, it makes me very, very happy. So big shout out to Lily Rose and Granddad as well. So I trade into Baloo with the Flynn Rider and the Prince John. And then I remove the Lilo with the Ursula. I figured at this point, I've got the board presence. Let's make use of it and start making some trades. Let's get rid of this Lilo. The longer this game goes on, I'm feeling like I'm in a bit of a dominant position. Because not only is Jasmine a decent card to have on the board, she's a 5-cost character. And a 5-cost character in this deck is very, very powerful. Look, I'm feeling pretty happy at this moment in time. I've got my Enchanted Jasmine down. I've got my Prince John. Look at the green curve. And bam! We don't talk about Bruno onto Bruno Madrigal. Hello! It's the only card in hand, so it gets discarded. Prince John draws, and look at the Emerald deck do the business. I don't need another color. I don't need Ruby. My Emerald green guys are doing the business. Green guys and girls, of course. So at this point, the Alma and the Ursula Vanessa are exerted. I have a decision on if I want to trade into them. I can squeeze in a Flynn Rider just for good measure. And a Friartuck! 6 ink, because of course this Bruno I didn't pay any ink for. Suddenly, out of nowhere, I've completely flooded the board with green guys. I've got the Flynn Rider, the Friartuck, the Prince John, the Ursula Deceiver, the Jasmine Enchanted. Worth every penny. Speaking of cards, if you guys are in Europe, definitely recommend Card Market where I bought this one. But I do have now, if you're in North America, a TCG Player affiliate link. It's at the top of the description. So if you're in North America, if you're buying Disney Lorcana cards, if you use that referral link whenever you're buying cards, I get a little bit of money from it. And it costs you nothing at all. So it's a great way of supporting me if you like what I do and you want to support me for free. If you're already buying cards off TCG Player, you can use that link and I'd really appreciate it. It really would mean a lot. It's basically just going to go towards me making better videos. I've spent a lot of money on equipment. I'm going to be spending a lot of money on packs. So all of that stuff is literally just getting invested straight back into the channel. So I really appreciate all the support on Lorcana. I'm loving it. I quest not quite to 20. I'm up to 19. The Brawl onto the Baloo. Up to 14 for Morgan. They need a miracle. Bare necessities ain't going to do it. GG, what a game. I think if I lost the die roll, I was absolutely toast. And this is why I love 2-game format. I think really this should have been a 1-1. 3 points each. But on to round 2. The next opponent is a viewer. It's Gemma. Big shout out to Gemma. This was a best of 3. I am only going to show you one of the games from this best of 3. So if you want to watch the rest, it is available on my Patreon. So I'm going to go ahead and mulligan pretty aggressively. I'm keeping Hey Hey, which would strongly suggest I'm going second here. I'm actually not certain off the top of my head, but I kept Hey Hey in the opening hand. So you've got to imagine I'm going second. Sure enough, Maleficent Dragon gets synced. Okay, so I'm thinking, right, I'm up against Ruby Sapphire. Of course, we can see that's not the case. Gemma's got the Maleficent in her Ruby Amethyst deck. Actually, after this, I gave her a couple of my Peter Pan Shadow Finders and gave him a little signature as well. If you guys ever see me and want me to sign your cards, I will warn you, my signature is so bad. It is the worst thing you've ever seen. I'm trying to work on it, but it's a bit embarrassing. So I'm thinking I'm up against Ruby Sapphire, so I have to start off with the Merfolk. I need as much aggression as possible. A lot of the time when I'm going second, I just check that I'm recording here. So I say to Gemma, I'm like, hide your cards while I just check I'm recording, because I get paranoid that I'm not actually recording. But I think I was. Oh, I was getting my coffee. Even more important. Absolutely. I had like a 5 a.m. start here. Black coffee, of course. Big shout out to the Dice Cup where we were. They had big mugs of coffee. I'm a big fan of that. So I'm doing like a little keto diet at the moment. I've actually finished it since recording this video. I'm going to Bologna in like a week for the Disney Lorcana challenge, and I wouldn't be able to do keto and avoid the pasta and the pizza in Italy, would I? So, but yeah, at this point, I'm on a bit of a weight loss hype. So I'm on the black coffee in the mornings. I do love a bit of black coffee in the morning. Did have a little bit of food after the Swiss rounds. Turn 2 anyway, a bit more important than my dietary habits, I think. I've got the Merfolk down, and the Flynn Rider is a huge issue for me. It really, really is. Ursula Deceiver comes through. I do manage to snipe the friends, which is really, really good. And I also see a Fox, a Maui. But this Flynn Rider is a huge issue. I alluded to it earlier with the 2-drop Pegasus in my deck being the only real way of checking this on turn 2. So Flynn Rider gaining 3 lore without even having to quest is a real issue. So I definitely think if you're looking to play this deck, more copies of the 2-drop Pegasus. Look at that beautiful black coffee. The other thing to note is the longer this video goes on, the more uncentered my opponent's camera becomes. I was using a very old camera for that, and the threading basically disappeared on it, so it got knocked, but I've got a new one. I'm playing another set champs tomorrow with another spicy deck, and I've got a new camera for that, so it should be better. There's actually a chance I'm going to be live streaming that one. I've also got new microphones for both myself and my opponent, so I'm pretty much ready to start doing these live streams on the road. It just is going to depend on the venue's internet connection. Daydreaming gets inked. In comes Brawl. Flynn Rider's got to go. As much as I would have loved to have developed Prince John here, I can deal with the Flynn Rider. But that 2 Loric gain is definitely very spooky for sure. I've got Hey Hey ready to go in hand as well. So Hey Hey, if you're not familiar, if your opponent has more ink in the inkwell than you, when you play this character, you put the top card from your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. So it's like a conditional Mickey Mouse, but it's inkable. It has 1 extra strength and it quests for 2. So if you can pull it off, it's amazing. It's best played on turn number 4. Look at my face. I was so sure my Merfolk was safe. I saw the Fox earlier. I saw the Maui. So I was thinking, okay, maybe they got like a 1-drop and a Fox. They can remove it, but it's unlikely. But the Peter Pan Shadow with Rush cleaning up the Merfolk. Of course, Gemma has to discard, but I was really hoping to get some Prince John value out of this Merfolk. So I'm at 3 ink. 3 ink. Here it comes. The Rooster. Bam! Hey, hey. You always love it when an opponent's like, what does that card do? What does that do? Very underrated card. I had 2 copies. Next time I play the deck, I'd go up to 3, maybe even 4. I think 3. It's not very good when going first often. But this is a really nice way of, even if I'm not getting Prince John value, a really good way of still getting to 6 ink, because it's one card I'm playing onto the board to quest and challenge and apply a bit of pressure, while also adding a card into my Inkwell. If I miss Prince John, it's very difficult to get to 6 ink. So Hey is helping me out in a big way in that department. Now, the hand is pretty good. Robin Hood Daydreamer, we don't talk about Bruno, Merfolk, and Prince John. I haven't inked yet this turn. It's Hey, I paid for 3, which is why I'm at 4 ink. So I can now ink the Daydreamer, play the Merfolk. And even though I went second in this game with Emerald Ruby, I'm ahead in ink. Hey, the absolute business here. You love to see it. Hope you guys appreciate the effort I've put into really trying to build something a little bit unorthodox and different. I love deck building. I think Lorcana deck building is really, really fascinating. And there's nothing I love more than playing an unorthodox deck and trying to do well with it. Because it does take a long time to prep this and come up with something that's actually good. But I hope you appreciate it. It's how I like to play card games. And yeah. Okay, another interesting draw, because I draw Pegasus. Now, my game plan here is I'm thinking, if I can drop the Pegasus, I can then next turn play the Prince John, sing the Bruno. However, what I'm not really thinking about at this stage is that Gemma's at 5 ink. And if she inks another card, that Madame Medusa in her hand is going to be able to deal with this Pegasus quite easily. And that's going to be a real problem for me, because then I can't sing Zeus, Bruno, and I can't play the Prince John. So I'm in a bit of a dodgy spot here. Gemma's going to ink the Fox, Medusa, and look, I'm ready to remove the Pegasus, but Gemma decides to go for the Merfolk. And this is a fatal error from Gemma. This is music to my ears. And actually, if I go back, I kind of gave away that I would rather the Pegasus be on the board. Now, let's be clear. Gemma doesn't know my deck. This is the first game of the series. She has no idea really what I'm playing. I don't even know if she's seen that I'm Ruby yet at this point. I probably inked a Ruby card, but she's very much unsure what I'm playing. I've got a Brawl, haven't I? I played the Brawl on the Flynn. So she does know I'm Ruby, but she's not going to know the ins and outs of my deck. So removing the Merfolk to protect a card in hand, probably anticipating that Prince John makes a lot of sense. But look at the hand. Prince John for 3, Pegasus, singing. We don't talk about Bruno. I go for the Maui. Maui back into the hand, and then a card is discarded at random. And of course, with that Prince John down on the board, a card discarded for Gemma is a card drawn for me. So we're going to roll a dice. One of them is labeled 1 to 3, the other 4 to 6. Be prepared is discarded. Prince John's going to draw. So I know the last card in hand for Gemma is Maui. I draw a Flynn. Now, in the deck, I'm playing 2 copies of Sudden Chill. There is an argument maybe to play some more. This would be a good example of where Sudden Chill would be nice, right? I could sing it with Hey, discard that Maui. So instead, what I decide to do, I play the Flynn Rider. I've got the Bruno in hand for next turn. I decide to pass play on over to Gemma. Now, this Pegasus was a late addition to the deck. Absolute belter of a card. The fact that it's singing, we don't talk about Bruno as an evasive, is really, really important. And the shift lines that this provides are incredible. If you shift Pegasus in, all your characters gain evasive until the start of your next turn, right? So if I imagine I go Merfolk on 1, Ruby Pegasus on turn 2, or even like Pegasus 1 drop on 2 and another Merfolk. Prince John on 3, and then on turn 4, I shift in Pegasus. My whole board is evasive. I can quest essentially for free, and I can sing We Don't Talk About Bruno with the Pegasus on turn 4. Without that, without the shift, you're not able to sing We Don't Talk About Bruno until turn 6. And that feels so slow. I ended up like hard casting We Don't Talk About Bruno a bunch of times. So the Pegasus just proved to be such an amazing addition to this deck. The 1-drop Pegasus is great as well. Ruby Emerald in set 3 really struggled for a lack of good 1-drops, but the 1-drop Pegasus is perfect for this deck. And it just becomes even better when you add in the shift capabilities. Bam! Another We Don't Talk About Bruno. And look at that face from Gemma. She doesn't like to see it. I've got a decision. What would you go for? The Pan Shadow, the Medusa, the Chernobogs? The choice is clear, everybody. There's only one card that I'm ever picking here. And its name is Its name is Chernobog's Followers. Chernobog's Followers represents a potential card draw, right? Medusa, I don't want to bounce back. Can remove my Pegasus. The Pan Shadow Finder has Rush. I'm not really that bothered by it. The Chernobogs is a whole card in hand. So I decided to go for the Chernobog's Followers. I discard the Maui. Prince John's going to draw. It's a Chernobog's Followers in hand, which I'm much more happy about than being a Madame Medusa. Could have been Pan Shadow. I think the Chernobogs was a pretty good choice, though, honestly. Deny the card draw as much as possible. Ink Daydreamer. Play a Daydreamer. This is another reason I'm scared of Be Prepared. The Chernobog's Followers represented an extra opportunity to draw into Be Prepared, right? Although the Chernobog's Followers is also an inkable card, in fairness. But suddenly, my board's very wide. I've got a Daydreamer which quests for 4. What a deck! The Hey, the Prince John, the Pegasus, everything's just popping off. All my green guys, and that Brawl as well, put in some work to deny the Flynn Rider earlier on. Gemma's at 5 ink. No, 6 ink. So yeah, removing that Chernobogs was definitely the correct decision to just remove the potential for her to draw into Be Prepared as much as possible. 6 spent on Medusa. Bye-bye, Pegasus. But Pegasus has done the damage already. Of course, all of my board is exerted. I think that's Chernobog's getting inked because Flynn Rider is otherwise going to be discarding it. If that is indeed what Gemma's going to do. Of course, Medusa and Pan Shadow Finder can challenge this turn. So Flynn Rider's removed by Pan Shadow. Not Pan Shadow Finder, Pan Shadow. And then Medusa is going to challenge, you would imagine, the Prince John. So Hey and Robin Hood Daydreamer still on the board. Allows me to quest for 6. This is the power of the Daydreamer. Gemma is really starting to stabilize the board. Off the top, what do I have is a Friar Tuck, get out of my church. No cards for either player, though. With that Chernobog's Followers going into the Inkwell. Gemma is at 7 ink. I double quest. I'm up to 16, and I have a Friar Tuck down on the board. So this Robin Hood is going to trade for double Medusa, right? Like both Medusas, or Medusa and Pan, have to challenge into the Robin Hood, and they're removed. With that 4-5 stat line, this card is so good. But uh-oh, look at my face. I think I see what's coming, because there was no challenge forthcoming. It's a Be Prepared off the top from Gemma. At the perfect moment, I cannot believe it. 16-14. And we're both in top deck mode. I'm at 6 ink, Gemma's at 7. And that's not the card I want off the top. It's an Ursula Deceiver. It's better than a Sudden Chill. There's 2 Sudden Chills on the deck. That would have been the worst. Queen's Castle now for Gemma. Uh-oh. Looks like I'm in trouble. I need something good. It's a Merfolk. It only costs 1. It might seem really bad, but look, it quests for 2. I'm threatening lethal. Gemma needs a card off the top which can remove one of my characters. Surely they can't continue to draw what they need. A rabbit? Uh-oh. Surely not the Brawl. Oh my goodness. It's the rabbit into the Brawl. Was there a better top deck at that moment? Now, I can quest for Ursula to 18. I need a character which quests for 2. And I don't find it. I find a Pegasus. However, look. The rabbit cannot remove the Ursula. Gemma can quest for 1. A goat gets them there. A goat wins the game. It's a Chernobogs. And they cannot remove my Ursula. So I'm able to quest for 2. I win by a single law. Of course, she could quest here with the rabbit to 19. What a game. Now, this was game 1 in the series. Gemma beat me game 2, but I was able to come out on top in game number 3. If you want to see those other games, they're available on Patreon. We move into round 3, game number 3 of this best of 3. I won game 1 going first. I lost game 2 going second, and it's game 3. I'm playing against Bucky. I'm playing against Stuart. They know what deck I'm playing at this point. I know they're Bucky. They know I'm Emerald Ruby, but let's be honest, they're still not really gonna have a clue what's going on with my deck. It's a bit of a wacky deck. So, pretty excited to show you how I managed to deal with Bucky. Of course, I do have quite a lot of options available with Brawl. To remove Diablo, I have the 2-drop Pegasus. I have the Shift Pegasus, which can all clean up Diablo. What I don't have is an actual way of removing Bucky from the board. If Bucky stays readied, Bucky cannot be removed by me. It's as simple as that. I don't have Under the Sea, don't have Be Prepared, I don't have Tinkerbell, nothing like that. So if Bucky stays ready, Bucky is not leaving the board. I ink a goof and I play a Merfolk. That's the opening that I'm looking for, and Stuart knows it. He knows that's what I'm looking for. So, of course, the main thing I'm looking for here is an aggressive start. I'm looking for Prince John in particular. Prince John's so good in this matchup. Prince John's just extraordinarily good. Emerald has really gone out of, Emerald non-Bucky decks have gone out of favor because of how strong Bucky is, that people really underestimate how good Emerald still is. The Merfolk, quest for 2. In comes another one, I think. Do I have the Shinmiri line? Can I go triple Merfolk turn 2? I can play 1. And unfortunately for me, that is all I got. Imagine a Pegasus here. And then a Shift Pegasus on turn 3. Evasive Merfolks. Quest for 6 would be very, very strong. Lots of very interesting lines of this deck. So yeah, like if I had another 1-drop Pegasus there, turn 3, then I Shift. Both Merfolks turn evasive. Now, Sudden Chill gets synced, and in comes that dreaded Squirrel. And I mentioned I'm not able to exert it in any way, or remove it in any way, unless it's exerted. And what's interesting is the pressure that I'm applying here to Stuart means that there's a very good chance that they might just have to take Bucky into a Merfolk. I go for the Ursula. It allows me to remove the Let the Storm Rage on. This is something I was worried about. Either that or Strength of a Raging Fire coming through on turn 2. Of course, the Sudden Chills, the Zeus, but the Diablos are very, very slow, and I've got a Brawl waiting and ready in my hand. The Jasmine's uninkable, so then it's either Friar Tuck, Pegasus, or Brawl. Brawl I want to hold on to for those Diablos. Friar Tuck is a nice aggressive option I can get through on turn 4 to apply some pressure to Stuart's hand. So as much as I would have loved to Prince John on 3, the Ursula protects the Merfolk by getting rid of that Storm Rage on, which would have been a really scary turn 3 play. But this Bucky is also now being able to be removed if it challenges, because my Ursula Deceiver can clean it up. And if Stuart doesn't remove these Merfolks, I can quest up to 11 already. So I may not have a way of getting Bucky off the board, but I can certainly apply a whole bunch of pressure. Diablo comes through. I discard my uninkable Jasmine, of course. That was kind of my game plan with this uninkable card, to just discard, because the others are able to be played or inked. Bucky challenges a Merfolk. Into the discard it goes, but of course Stuart has to discard a card of their own. I think that might be wise to get rid of like a Diablo here because it's uninkable. Like the Diablos are just a bit slow. Goes for a Sudden Chill instead. And I actually think the Sudden Chill might have been a better keep, honestly. It's ink. Not sure how important it is that it's ink. But even just being able to sing it with Diablo might just be something they need. I'm not sure. We'll see. I trade into Bucky. Really very happy to see that gone. Merfolk is able to quest, and the Brawl comes through. The Ruby Amber combo, look at that. The questing power of Emerald. I said Ruby Amber, Ruby Emerald. The control of Ruby. My Merfolk lives to fight another day, and it can continue to quest. In my hand, I think, is another Brawl and a Friar Tuck. So if it's another Diablo, well, I've got the answer. Zeus on Merfolk. That's the power of the Cursed Merfolk. It quested, I think, for 4, and it ate a 4-cost Zeus. So I'm going to draw. I hit Maui. I'm going to ink it. I'm going to get out of my church. Stuart's got a discard. It's going to be the Ursula. I've got a Brawl in hand. Stuart's got a Diablo. I know it's Diablo as well from that Ursula earlier on, and I know that I've got the answer for that follow-up Diablo. Absolutely glorious. The power of Ruby. You don't need much. Just a few Ruby cards as Diablo comes down. And if this Diablo sticks around and starts drawing Stuart cards, things are going to get out of hand really, really quickly. They have 1 card left in hand, 4 ink. Tink into the ink. That's the power of the discard, that this Tink had to get inked. Otherwise, instead of discarding cards, Stuart would have been able to be inking cards and then play the Tinkerbell. I slap down Brawl on the table and the Diablo gets removed from the board. I'm up to 12. It's back on over to top deck mode for Stuart. A beast here would be the best find, right? Something to stabilize and start getting some card draw. It's a Bruno, not really what Stuart's hoping for. It's not the worst. It bounces my Friar Tuck back, but ultimately, it just gets me a turn closer to 20. So it is the Jasmine that's discarded, which was pretty good, but it was a 5-cost uninkable, so I'm honestly not too unhappy about that, because I would have had to have inked to played it. I ink Brawl anyway to play the Friar Tuck, because otherwise the Brawl gets discarded, because Stuart has nothing in hand. So I'm now at the 5 ink mark, and there is the Beast off the top. Is it a turn too late, though? Or is Stuart going to be able to stabilize from here? What do I find? Prince John. A quest for 2. I'm going to quest up to 16. I'm 4 away, so Stuart has 2 draws. 1 for the Beast, 1 for turn, and they need to remove the Friar Tuck from the board. This Prince John's not going anywhere unless they have a Grab Your Swords, which they don't. So the Friar Tuck has to go, or I'm going to get to 20. Now, Stuart is able to play the Squirrel, and then use the 3 to play Strength. And there's a slight misplay here. They try and target the Prince John, but it's got Ward, of course. Instead, then they go on to the Ursula, but quickly realize afterwards they needed to deal 2 damage to Friar Tuck. So then the Beast could remove Friar Tuck, and then I would only be getting to 19. Let's be honest, I was still probably going to win. But I do just about cross the finish line here. The Strength could have done 2 to Friar Tuck. Beast challenged Friar Tuck. Ursula would have stayed on the board. And then I would have got to 19. Beast wouldn't have been drawing. I was winning either way. All right, next up in this Swiss round, I'm 3-0, and I'm up against Stefan, who is 2 wins and 1 draw. They had 1 game which went to time, but Stefan has a bit of a reputation for being the best player in Nottingham. If you're in Nottingham, apart from when I'm there, of course. So Stefan has a reputation for usually being the best player in Nottingham, but on this occasion, they were in fact the second best player in Nottingham, as you're about to see. So here I get rid of 5 cards, and what do you do when you mulligan 5 cards? You put them on the bottom of your deck, and then you shuffle your deck, and then you draw 5 more, right? Wait, no, that's not right. What are you doing? What am I doing? And it is at this moment that we're cutting decks that I realise something has gone a little bit pear-shaped. Uh-oh. Stefan's like, what on earth is going on, mate? This is why I'm the best player in Nottingham, proof, right? Like, oh my goodness, what a calamity from me. So I call a judge of myself. Stefan's like, it's fine, mate, don't worry about it. I've met Stefan a few times. They did very well at the Birmingham UK Games Expo. Look at that outfit as well. White hat, white shirt, white shorts. I bet they got white shoes as well. And socks. And undies. Who knows? All right, so I won the die roll. I'm going first. I know what they're on. They're on Sapphire Steel. This was actually before, the day before, I guess it was the same day as DLC Texas in Fort Worth. This was like the Saturday that started. So this was before the Amber Steel Songs deck had done really well in Fort Worth. They're on the Golden Harp card, which is this 1-cost character which quests for 2, which banishes itself if you didn't play a song this turn. I go for the Pegasus on 1. It's possible that there was a Merfolk as an option. I'm not certain. I think there is. A lot of the time, I like to play the Pegasus on 1 if I don't know what I'm up against as a bit of a safety net. It's always gaining lore, whereas the Merfolk, a lot of the time what I'm going to do is if my opponent plays a character on turn 1, I'm just not going to quest with the Merfolk. I'm going to wait until I either get Prince John down or I shift in Pegasus, and then I quest with Merfolk. So a lot of you are going to be surprised to see that I don't play the Merfolk on 1, but I decided that the Pegasus is just a safer option at this stage. It does mean that obviously my Merfolk can't be inked, whereas Pegasus could be inked. But I just value this Pegasus on the board. I have Pegasus shift in hand. And yeah, I don't really want to play my Merfolk into a Robin Hood 1-drop. It's going to be a really bad start for me. And sure enough, I get rewarded for my play. I find the Prince John as well. So turn 2, I could look to go like Ursula Deceiver. Here's where I call the judge of myself and let him know about the error. Sorry about the face cam being off-centered as well. Like I said, I've got a new face cam for my next set champs where it's not going to be all out of focus. And I've got microphones for each player. And I might be able to live stream it, depending on the connection. You might have already seen the live stream because probably by the time this video goes up, that set champs will have happened. If you didn't see a live stream, the videos are coming soon. If you did see the live stream, the videos for that are also coming soon. I'm playing a wonky deck. I'm playing Emerald Sapphire. There you go. 30 plus uninkables. That's what I'm playing for my next set champs. I think it's quite a lot worse than Ruby Emerald, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's silly season, right? We're almost new set. It's time to do some real wacky stuff. Maui comes down. I go for the Pegasus. Obviously, you guys know me. I'm a professional. I'm not one that's going to make mistakes like messing up my mulligan. And I'm certainly not going to walk into a Robin Hood shift into grab your swords. Like, I'm not some sort of noob. I would never do that. So obviously, I'm going to be very prepared for that. Prince John on turn 3 might look tempting to then go Pegasus shift on turn number 4. But of course, I'm not going to do such a foolish thing because I'm a professional, right? So I've got my 2 Pegasus down on the board, and I'm never going to play Prince John here and walk into this shift, grab your swords. I'm going to just check with the Ursula Deceiver because I'm a professional and I'm really good at the game. So I've got the Ursula to discard the grab your swords. Ink Pegasus. Wait, what? Prince John? Look at that face from Stefan. He's like, oh my goodness, hello. Hello, Ink. I think you see where this is going. I think you might see where this is going. Ink the Gaston. Great card, by the way. There's a new version of Gaston in set 5. Quest for 2. It's the moose thingy lady. Robin Hood. Uh-oh, look at my face. GG. This game is so over. This game, like 2 turns later, I have no cards left in hand. Stefan's got like a million. And that was 1-0. And then I got bad 2-0. I lost very, very hard. If you want to see the other games, they're on Patreon, all right? I'm trying to keep it fast-paced. Now, I'm 3-1. I've made a huge error. I don't deserve an Ursula with a play like that. That was the worst. I mean, I also shuffled my mulligan hand when I wasn't supposed to. Bit of a calamity. But we move. I'm 3-1. A win here. This is the 5th round of Swiss out of 6. A win here for whoever wins is able to ID the last round and guarantee a high seed. I think 4th seed minimum, which is great because that means you're going to be going first in the first round of Swiss, first round of the top cut, which is the most important. I'm up against Mufasa, or should I say Bufasa. And this is Amy, who is very friendly. I won the die roll again. I'm on fire with the die rolls in this tournament. I'm in Nottingham. I've got Robin Hood, you know. Robin Hood's on my side. Mulan comes through on turn 1. Very good opener for the Mufasa. By the way, I actually think Mufasa is pretty good this set. Honestly, it's a lot better than it was last set. The deck is actually good. Gaston is a really nice addition for that deck. A play that they can do is go Gaston on 3, and then on turn 4, go for a Mother Gothel and Rapunzel. Bam! Instant card draw. Because a big problem for the deck otherwise is that, for example, steel decks can just remove Mulan, remove Mother Gothel before the card draw opportunities come through. But that Gaston really enables some awesome plays. Pretty good opener for me with Pegasus and Flynn. This 1-drop Pegasus is so good. It's just not seen as much play as you might expect because Emerald Steel Bucky just warps everyone's mind when it comes to Emerald decks. But there's lots of other good Emerald decks out there that don't play Bucky. This one being a good example. Bucky's, of course, better. Don't get me wrong, but Pegasus shift. This gives my Flynn evasive. I can quest with both nice and safely. And I'm up to 5. What a start. I'm just looking to aggro this one out. I can sing We Don't Talk About Bruno with Pegasus if there's a big target down on the board. I do have a bit of an awkward next turn because my hand is 5-cost characters, or 5-cost cards, and a Jasmine, which is uninkable. Amy's going to ink, and in comes Julieta Madrigal. I really like this card in Mufasa. I think it's underrated. I think a lot of people really, really undervalue this card. While she doesn't have that many stats herself, the stats that she gives you are elsewhere, right? She gives you stats on Mulan here, who's suddenly a 2-3 instead of a 2-1, essentially, right? Now, Amy tried to challenge the Flynn, but of course that's not possible because Pegasus gave it evasive and just quest for 1 instead. This is where I'm in a bit of an awkward spot because I have an abundance of 5-cost characters. Don't really remember what I inked in the opening few turns. So this is, of course, where I'd love a Prince John. I could whack Prince John down, sing We Don't Talk About Bruno, draw a card. Really, really nice. So I'm going to ink probably the Daydreamer because it's many, many turns away from me being able to play it. But I do also have 2 Brunos, so I might want to try and hold on to that Robin Hood Daydream and just try and get to 6. Playing nothing on turn 4 is not what you want if you're trying to take an aggressive line. But it's fine. I'm feeling safe. I've got... Amy's got no chance of removing both my characters or anything like that. This Pegasus is a real problem. for them to deal with. Like, there's no way a Mufasa deck can remove both of these characters from the board. As Giulietta sings Teeth and Ambitions. Uh-oh. Okay, well, there's 4 ink left. There's no way. Oh my goodness, Amy. This play is absolutely incredible. King Undisputed, Teeth and Ambitions in a Mufasa deck out of nowhere. I'm never going to play Ursula Deceiver against a Mufasa deck. I was never going to discard these cards. However, I do have the Jasmine. So that's going to be 1 card discarded, but unfortunately no Prince John available for me, which is certainly the money card in this deck. But the good news is I held on to that Robin Hood earlier on, and I am only a turn away from being able to play it as Rapunzel comes through, makes use of the 2 damage from Teeth and Ambitions to draw 2 cards. Now Amy's got so many cards in hand as Beast gets inked. I just know that I need to win this game pretty quickly as Amy quests for 2 up to 4. I'm at 9, and I've got an interesting decision here. And I think what ends up happening is I get really spooked by the threat of a potential Mulan shift, removing my Jasmine and the other card that I play. I think I get very, very panicked about Mulan shift here. This is game 1 in the series, bear in mind. This is the first game in the series. So Jasmine can quest for 2, and if she's challenged, opponent has to discard a card. She's like a Merfolk and a Daisy Duck from Amber mixed in 1. And of course she's 5 cost, so can also sing Bruno. I was on 4 copies of her. I think moving forwards, if I was to play this deck, it would have made sense to also play, rather than 4 copies of Jasmine, maybe 3 copies of Jasmine and 1 Lucifer, for example. Or 2 copies of Jasmine and 2 copies of Lucifer. I wouldn't want to maybe play that many more. You could maybe play like 4 Jasmine, 1 Lucifer. Does, of course, just increase your uninkable count at 5 costs, though. Lucifer's just like another interesting option because it can discard 2 at once, right? Does have worse stats because it's a 2-2, can be brawled, for example. And a 2-2 is a lot worse than a 3-3. Like, Lucifer can get removed by a Madam M Fox and it stays on the board, whereas Jasmine is removing the Fox from the board. It's a big difference. It really, really is. I go for the Robin Hood. This play was pretty bad. I don't really like this challenge with Jasmine. I think at this stage I should have just gone for broke and quested. Could have been at 11 instead. Pluto is the card discarded by challenging Jasmine with Giulietta. She leaves them on the board. And look at my face. I'm like, yeah, okay, this is not good. This Jasmine challenge was really bad. Tremaine! Oh my goodness, that's one way to deal with a Daydreamer. And Amy's absolutely destroying me. This play, where I had to skip turn 4 and they were able to remove both my cards, was absolutely devastating. Friartalk, get out of my church, Amy. You have to discard a card. It's Maui. That's pretty good value, but look at that. The card that remains is all they need because it's the powerful Surfer Stitch. As Snow White gets inked again, Surfer Stitch for all the ink, draws 2 cards. Oh, look at my face. I can't believe it. I was so convinced I had this game against Mufasa going first. As soon as I saw Mufasa, I was like, get in. I won the die roll. I can't lose. But now, if I do lose from here, which it certainly looks like I'm going to, I'm in a position where not only do I have to win going first next game, but then I'm going to have to win a game going second. Uh-oh. Is this the end of the Ruby and Emerald dream? Am I getting put in my place here? It all started off so well, and it's all going a bit Pete Tong. It's going a bit pear-shaped. Super Goof to the rescue. 2 damage into Giulietta, 2 lore for my troubles, and the Friartalk quest for 2. I'm at 13. So I am creeping up towards that 20 mark. It's not all over just yet. Amy can quest for 6, puts them to 17. That's quite a lot of lore. But Amy's feeling so confident here and in such a dominant position that they can remove the Super Goof with the Lady Tremaine. The Stitch is going to remove the Friartalk. And suddenly it looks like it's all over. Rapunzel can quest. Eric's Bride for 4. This is going to be a Beast for 3. And then it's back on over to me as Rapunzel quests. And they're 7 away. They've got about 1 million lore on the board. GG. Game number 2. Can I pull this off? I still am a bit perplexed. Looking at this back, like I just couldn't believe I lost that game. I felt so confident. Skipping turn 4 was a nightmare. But that Teeth and Ambitions, Beaking Undisputed, Wombo combo, cleaning up the Flynn and the Pegasus in a single swoop, completely and utterly game-changing moment. So I know what I'm up against. I know it's Mufasa. I know I'm going full turbo aggro mode. You're about to see the power of the full turbo aggro mode. All right? I'm keeping Pegasus. I'm keeping Merfolk. I'm keeping the Shift Pegasus. I'm looking for a Shift Pegasus line to give my Merfolk evasive and get some questing power. I'm going to ink the Hidden Cove. That's where it belongs in the Inkwell, not in the deck. Would not recommend playing this card in this deck. It just was not very good all weekend. Pegasus on 1. Again, I go for the Pegasus on 1 over the Merfolk on 1 because it's guaranteed lore. If Amy goes Mulan on turn 1 here, my Merfolk ain't questing. So instead of like a possible 2 lore on turn 1, I'm going guaranteed 1 lore on turn 1 with the Pegasus. And then on turn 2, that's when I'm going to play my Merfolk, because then I can either go Prince John on 3 or Pegasus Shift on 3 to give it evasive, which means I can always quest with my Merfolk safely. So I'm going safety first. It's like the lower ceiling, lower floor play with the Pegasus. Low risk, low reward, but I don't need a big reward. I'm feeling confident. I just need consistent lore gain, and this is a really nice board I've managed to develop. There's a Lumiere. I can shift Pegasus here, but instead I decided to just brawl the Lumiere because I can quest with everything. And then if Amy was to play on the next turn like a 3 strength character, which I can't remove with brawl, then I can shift Pegasus, and then my Merfolk's evasive. So I'm waiting for the right moment. The brawl comes through, and I'm already at 5. I'm running away with it. This is what you're really looking to do when going first with this deck. This is also why the Medusa is a little bit controversial, because Medusa can really mess up your game plan if you draw it like this, because it's such an expensive uninkable. That Medusa in this hand would kind of be complete disaster, right? I quest with the Merfolk. I've got 2 Pegasus on board. I could go Friar Tuck this turn, or I can shift in Pegasus this turn. And I think at this moment in time, with the decision to quest with the Merfolk, I've already decided to shift in the Pegasus. I'm just deciding if I ink Flynn or the Friar Tuck. I shift in Pegasus, keep the Friar Tuck for a rainy day, and quest for 3 up to 10. So my whole board is evasive, including the Merfolk, because I shifted in Pegasus. Rapunzel comes through, heals the beast by 3. Triple card draw. This beast is also... I really like Amy's build. The Snow White is spicy as well. And look at that. Shift Mulan has entered the building. One thing I would like to do personally in a Ruby Amber deck is play Perdita to resurrect the 1-cost Mulan to then enable the Shift Mulan later in the game. I think that could be a really spicy combo. I'm going to quest with Pegasus, quest with Pegasus, quest with Merfolk. I'm just a simple, honest quester. I'm up to... I should be 15. I've done my maths wrong there. Oh, Spessy, what are you doing? You're all over the shop. I was on a lack of sleep. Maybe at this time in the day was where, I was starting to get a bit tired. I just shuffled my hand into my deck, and I just walked into a Robin Hood shift, grab your swords, and I missed the lore here. But Amy can't stop me. Game 3, but this is the big one because Amy's going first. In the first 2 games, I went first. Can I stop the Mufasa while it goes first? It's going to be an uphill battle. I need to be very meticulous with my mulligan. And here is an example, everybody, of a moment where I am really proud of myself for taking all the time I needed to come to the best decision. That second game was rapid. We had a bunch of time. I checked with the judge. We've got like 25, 30 minutes to finish this game off, right? We are good to go. So I am going to take my sweet, sweet time. The mulligan is the most important moment in Lorcana. The most difficult decisions you're going to make are the mulligan and the first card you ink. So initially, I'm planning on getting rid of these. I'm planning on keeping Flynn Rider, and I'm planning on keeping Prince John. I'm always keeping Prince John. The Flynn Rider, though, do I really want that Flynn Rider in my hand? Okay, I can play it on turn 2. I can quest, Amy might trade and discard. I draw because of Prince John. But is that really what I want when I'm going second? And I think, actually, no, it's not. Eventually, I get there. I realise at this moment, I think it's at this moment, I realise how good the Shift Pegasus is. Again, I was learning on the job. Like, while I'm talking in commentary, I know more about the deck than I did when I was playing it. I played more games with this deck in this tournament than I did in prep, right? I was very much learning on the job. And I say to her, I'm really sorry, like I'm going to really take my time. She's like, yeah, it's cool, don't worry, we've got time. Because this mulligan decision is huge. And instead, I'm starting to look at the idea of going Ruby Pegasus on turn 2, Prince John on turn 3, Shift Pegasus on turn 4, which gives my John evasive, I can quest, and I can sing We Don't Talk About Bruno. That seems better. So I get rid of the Flynn, and instead I keep the Pegasus, the Bruno, and I think that this was absolutely huge. Huge. Great decision. Really, really happy with the fact that I took my time on the mulligan there. So we go into the game. Minnie Mouse gets inked and Mulan comes in for Amy. Spooky start. And for me, I don't even know if I've got a turn 1, which is not really the start you're looking for. So I, again, want to spend my time thinking about the first ink decision. I have 2 Mauis. Maui's going to help me claw my way back into this game while going second. I'm not really happy about it. Look, I'm not really wanting to ink it, but I got no turn 1. But it is what it is. I've got a line, which is the Prince John, the Pegasus. Lumiere comes in. This is giving 1 strength to each of Amy's other characters. So this Mulan is a 3-3 right now. Although with 2 damage counters, it's more like a 3-1. Pegasus gets inked because I drew another. In comes the Ruby Pegasus. I definitely want to play more copies of this card moving forwards. Also, like, good with Sudden Chill, right? You can sing Sudden Chill with this and it can't be removed. So you could also increase the count of Sudden Chill, perhaps. I was playing 2 copies of each. Surface Stitch into the Inkwell for Amy. The Julieta is an option, as is the Wounded Beast. And look at that Mulan shift. Very, very spooky. Now, I make a read here. Amy didn't quest with the Mulan on the previous turn and didn't quest here. I'm not sure if I agree with that, to be honest. I think that they probably should have and just forced me to take some trades. This just kind of made things very easy for me. But I make the read based off the fact that this Mulan was not exerted, that they have a shift. I was really worried about the shift throughout this game, throughout the series. I'm not even sure I've seen the legendary Mulan at all from Amy. It's possible she inked it in one of the earlier games, but I don't think so. And I'm very, very worried about it. I kind of make the read at this point, like, right, what plays are my opponents making? They're not questing. Why are they not questing? They probably are not questing because they want to shift Mulan and catch me off guard, right? Those are the kinds of things you need to be thinking about. Like, why are your opponents making those decisions? One skill that a lot of people really underestimate in card games when they're newer as a Mulan gets inked is really tracking what your opponent's doing and trying to predict what is in their hand. And as soon as I see that Mulan getting inked as well, it's even more of a read there's another one in hand, right? Like, there's no way that Mulan is getting inked on 4 ink unless they've got a complete hand of uninkables or there's another one in hand. So I'm fully committed to the idea that there's another one of those Mulans in hand, and that is terrifying. Bam! Pegasus shift. Prince John's evasive until the start of my next turn. Hello! We don't talk about Bruno. And this all came back to this opening mulligan. And also the deck building on the train, because this Pegasus shift was not in the deck, actually, before I was on the train. And I've got an interesting decision, like, what do I get rid of? Like, this Mulan is a little bit spooky. It does have 2 damage counters. The Beast is on just 1. But I do decide to get rid of the Beast because it quests for more. It's harder to replay, whereas the Mulan can just come down next turn, maybe alongside something else. There's 6 cards in hand, so it's going to be a die roll. Label each card 1 to 6. Whatever the dice lands on is the corresponding card, which is discarded. And of course, with the Prince John in the building, I'm also going to draw a card for good measure. So I discard... That's no white. That's not great, is it? But Prince John does the business and draws me a card. I didn't ink yet this turn either, so I do have the opportunity to develop Pegasus. And this is a really, really crucial moment. I quest because, of course, Prince John's evasive. This is a quest I would not otherwise be able to take without the Pegasus shift. So really getting my value from the shift ability from Pegasus. And I decide to ink the other Pegasus, which does play into Be King Undisputed a little bit. This would have been a good failsafe against Be King Undisputed. But it was not forthcoming. I think also Be King probably would have come through last turn. Rapunzel did just draw a bunch of cards, however. But I really value the other cards in hand. Like, I'm in a position where I need to control the board. And I think my hand right now is Maui, Bruno, possibly. So that's why the Pegasus gets inked and everything else is preserved. Of course, Prince John again is evasive, so it cannot be challenged unless Amy has an evasive character of their own. Big questing power. Amy's at 7 and has a very wide board. Milan, Lumiere, Rapunzel, all exerted. I'm going to ready, set, and draw. I'm at 4 ink. I can go to 5 this turn. It's a Medusa. More control, but it's uninkable. So what I need to do here is I need to sing the Bruno, discard a card, and draw an inkable off the top to enable me to play Maui. And then suddenly, my hand opens itself up. If not, I'm going to have to discard the Bruno to play the Maui. And I've got another decision. What do I bounce back? I go for the Mulan. It had the most damage counters. I don't really know if it's that good of a decision. I'm a little bit spooked by the potential Mulan shift, and I think I'm planning on going Maui this turn, which is, yeah, that is why I did it. I think it was just a good decision. I'm planning on going Maui this turn. If I draw an inkable, it's an uninkable. Disaster. It's an absolute calamity. Look, I'm so unhappy. My game plan was to rush in with Maui, take out the Rapunzel or the Lumiere here. But the Merfolk off the top has soiled my plans, and I'm not a happy bunny. So the decision now is, do I ink Maui or do I ink Bruno? I ink Maui, and I play... Is it another Maui? It is. So I had 2 Mauis in hand. Okay, I really wanted to preserve both of them and the Bruno, if I do have another Bruno in hand. I don't. Maybe it was 2 Mauis and a Bruno. So then Maui trades into Rapunzel. And then again, this is why I removed that Mulan with the Bruno, because otherwise that Mulan's still on the board. The shift Mulan comes through and I'm toast. It can clean up Maui and Pegasus is gonzo. So huge decision by myself to bounce back that Mulan when the shift was threatening. Mulan is back in the building. I've got my Medusa for it next turn though, as long as I can find some ink. Look at the Julieta putting in work. It heals the Mulan, draws a card. So that is 4 ink spent so far by Amy. 1 ink left, but they also haven't inked yet this turn as the Minnie Mouse goes into the Inkwell. I don't think they have that 2-cost character to play, though. There is a Chernobog, but I don't think it's cheap enough yet. Amy is going to quest again. And they're up to 9 now. I'm going to draw, and it's another uninkable. I'm looking for an ink so I can play my Medusa. I can sing We Don't Talk About Bruno, the 3rd copy, by the way, with either Pegasus or Maui. And of course, with Prince John, I can draw a card. Maybe I draw an inkable, and then I can Medusa the Mulan. So I go for the Pegasus to sing Bruno. And it's another decision on what I take. A lot of you might think I'm going to go for the Mulan again, but I need this Mulan gone, and I only have 1 Medusa, I believe, in hand. Maybe there's 2 in hand, honestly. So either way, I want to Medusa this Mulan. And I'm just thinking, like, at this moment in time, what are the odds I draw an uninkable? They're not that high. It's more likely I draw an inkable. Obviously, I've just drawn 2 uninkables, but that's, you know, it's very possible there's 3 uninkables on top of the deck. At this moment in time, it doesn't matter that I've just drawn 2 uninkables. All that matters is what is the top card on the deck. Is it inkable? Is it uninkable? And I think at this point, I can kind of just go through all the cards that are left in my deck, roughly. How many uninkables have I seen already? Odds are in my favor that it's going to be an inkable. I play the odds. Chernobog gets discarded. Huge. I draw an inkable card. Fantastic. Now I can ink the Flynn. I can play the Medusa, remove that Mulan, trade the Maui into the Julieta probably because it remains on the board that way. And I don't have to be worried about that Mulan shift. So it's all gone to plan. Definitely took a little bit of a risk with that decision not to bounce back the Milan, but definitely the higher ceiling play. Maui's now on 3 damage counters, and there's another interesting decision. Do I quest with the Prince John? 3 Brunos gone. There's definitely cards like Jasmine available in my deck, for example, which could put in some work. And discard a card from Amy's hand. But equally, I want to quest. I decide at this moment in time, it's a little bit too soon to go for the quest with John. There's the Milan. It's like, yeah, I've been waiting for that. I've been waiting for that. And he was like, I've been wanting to shift it all game. Yep, I know. Or at least I figured. I definitely didn't know, but I had a hunch. So back on over to me. I have Sudden Chill, Medusa, Merfolk in hand. Of course, I could sing Sudden Chill here to draw another card. So I could sing it either with Maui or with Medusa, because they both quest for 1. They would be the most obvious options. I actually decided to go for Medusa over Maui. I think that was a pretty reasonable decision to just go for the sing-song with Maui here. And I draw into the Daydreamer. What a card that is. I love this card. Medusa onto Mulan. Maui is going to go into Julieta. 1 willpower remaining. And it's at this moment I decide to quest with the Prince John because the board's very wide. The control of Emerald Ruby in full force right now. The Medusas, the Bee Kings, not the Bee Kings, the Brunos, and the Mauis absolutely popping off in the Swiss rounds here. This is the 5th round of Swiss. Again, the winner of this game is going to be able to ID the last round for a guaranteed top 4 seed, which means they will be going first in the first game of Swiss. But Amy is not over yet. As I read Amy's card now, the roles are reversed. Snow White, whenever this character quests, add a character back into your hand from your discard. Remember that Chernabog? Yeah, you remember that Chernabog? Yeah, huh? Yeah, don't forget about that Chernabog. This is not over yet. Mother Gothel removes Prince John, and it's back on over to me. I only have 4 lore on the board here, but I do have a certain Daydreamer. Oh, it's Jasmine. Okay. Jasmine discards Bufasa. Bye-bye, Bufasa. Prince John did get removed from the board, so I'm not going to draw for that. This is why I love Jasmine. Just instant discard. I love cards which discard instantly. Maui removes the Mother Gothel. The Pegasus can quest, as can both Medusas. And remember that Ruby 2 cost Pegasus is what got shifted on and enabled this kind of game plan. So really, really good performance from the Ruby Pegasus. Definitely would look at increasing the count of that card next time I play this one. Snow White, whenever it quests, adds a card from Amy's discard back to the hand. So they're going to go ahead, search the discard. How many characters are there? There's about 10. Yeah, looks like there's about 10. So I have a feeling we might be seeing that Chernabog again in a moment. Maui for 5. Maui's going to remove Madame Medusa. Which one? Haha. So funny. I'm such a joker. I'm not. Snow White quest for 2. And then Amy could put back the Chernabog. And I think it either costs 1 or it costs nothing. I'm gassed. Look at that. I am very, very excited to see this combo. Maybe because I still feel like I'm in a winning position. I wouldn't be so happy if the board looked a little bit different, I think. I mean, I would have been impressed, but I would have been upset. I'm just mind blown. Yeah, so all the characters get shuffled back. Not sure if this was a 0 cost Chernabog, or 1 cost Chernabog, or a 2 cost Chernabog. But either way, it was played. Snow White basically popped off in a big way. There's also a cool enchanted version of this Snow White, and Amy was playing some of the cheaper options. Pretty cool to see. Love a bit of unorthodox deck building, as you can tell, with a Jasmine on the board. Not going to cut the deck. All good. I think I might be in top deck mode. Maybe I have 1 card in hand tucked away somewhere. Yeah, I have 1 card in hand. I have the Daydreamer in hand, which is just about the best card you could wish for at this moment in time. Going to quest with the Merfolk up to 13. I like to quest with this first because I know I'm always doing it, and then I can just kind of make my other decisions. Just helps me recognize exactly what I need to do, right? Like, I'm always questing with the Merfolk, so let's just do that now. And then I have less decisions to think about. So everything can quest. I can challenge if I so desire as well. Amy's threatening 5 lore. There's not currently any cards in the discard, but of course this Maui could be removed in a challenge, and then Snow White could put it back in Amy's hand, which is really, really powerful. Jasmine, I decide to quest with, and then I'm making the decision, do I want to challenge Snow White with Pegasus and Medusa, or do I just want to quest it as the Daydreamer comes through? 4 lore being threatened, and I decide that if I don't quest here, and another Maui's found, like maybe I'm left in a position where I don't quite have lethal, I'm probably fine to challenge or quest here. I think either's going to be fine. Of course, if I challenge with the Pegasus is gone. The Medusa would remain on the board, so I'd stay at 15 with a Medusa, Robin Hood ready, to Jasmine, a Merfolk. Amy would have only Maui and Chernabog, so I think I would be fine either way. But I just decided I'm fine here. I'm not worried about Am I worried about Super Goof? I have a feeling Amy might have told me that she wasn't even playing Super Goof, like, at some point. And this is where she's just like, haha, psych, unlucky. No, I'm kidding. So she quests, she's up to 17. Rapunzel goes through. She said she just doesn't have anything in the deck that can stop me. So it's GG. Well played to Amy. I did win this one 2-1. And then I ID'd my last round in Swiss. I finished second seed. Stefan, who beat me, was first seed. And in the next video, you're going to see the top cut. And guess what? My first game's up against Amy on Mufasa. And that's the game for the Ursula. Give it a like if you enjoyed. Shout out to Nottingham. Shout out to the Illuminats. And shout out to the Dice Cup. Thanks so much for having me. Thank you for watching.